Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome to Internet Uncapped. I'm Mr. Lolcow, or you can call me Mitchell. Usually, I am joined with Evan. Evan, unfortunately, could not make it here today, but I'm doing an interview here on Internet Uncapped with the one, the only, the legend himself, Duty Streams. Duty, brother, how you doing?
Hello, hello. Hey, thank you for having me on, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully we can have a good, meaningful interview here.
hmm
Definitely.
Yeah, it's all about the positivity. It's all about
Yes,
the fun, meaningful content, as always.
of course. And by the way, you had an epic intro. I saw a lot of many locales
Mhm.
in there that I tend to consume and enjoy. So I do appreciate the intro.
Oh, thank you, thank you. We have a couple other intros that I'm working on right now. I'm throwing in some of the new lolcows that we've been covering, such as Truther 777. Have you heard about that guy?
Yes, yes, I have. Oh man, dude, I get bombarded. One of the worst things I think one of the worst decisions I ever did as a business was actually getting an email account for the Meaningful Podcast
hmm
because a lot of people would reach out and say, "Hey, how can I reach you?" and so on.
Yeah.
My God, man, my inbox is filled with people asking me, "Did you see this guy? Did you see this guy?" And it's like I try to go through as many of my emails as I can, but no
hmm
lie, I literally get about 150 to 200 emails a day
Oh
of just
boy.
random people messaging me, just
Mhm.
locales and videos. So I try to respond as many as I can, but it gets a little difficult, especially when you have a family. When you have a family, they get into they interfere in detracting. So
Yes,
I try my
exactly.
best. Yeah.
Unlike Phil's family, him, Cat, Jasper, the woodland
Uh,
critters,
yes, the
the
horse, the cat,
styrofoam.
and yes, yes, yes.
Can't forget,
Definitely.
can't forget the styrofoam to the ceiling. But
Oh
yeah,
God, man. I mean, it's bad. It's
mhm,
bad when you have to talk about saving money
mhm.
so that you can get like 1-800 junk to come out and remove all the garbage in your house.
Oh yeah,
That I
yeah.
just don't get. It's two people and one cat. How can they be producing that massive amount of garbage? Now I understand they live in Washington and it's
Yes.
basically hippie heaven over there. So it's really difficult. I think trash pickup there is twice a month. So it's
Yeah.
once every 2 weeks. And he can only dispose a certain amount of trash.
Yeah.
And that's my understanding. And I actually researched it to make sure Phil was in line, but that's actually true.
Mhm.
So instead of, maybe cutting back on some of the garbage, or maybe doing composting or something, he
Yeah.
just throws it in his garage. So that would explain the mountains of styrofoam.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too, like, so where I live, it's once a week, and we have two trash bins. I have three roommates, and we only use one. Like, it's very rare that we're throwing trash into the second bin. Like, if we're throwing trash into the second bin, it must have been like something like I did a Super Bowl party.
Yep.
So, I had extra people over. So I ordered pizza, all the boxes and stuff like that. And even then, like, it was not even halfway in the second barrel. So it's them ordering stuff and just and gorging, or as DSP would say, we're gonna devour all this food.
Devour.
So
Yeah, yeah. It's the DoorDash
mhm.
orders. I mean, I can just imagine how many bags of used litter they have sitting in the
Oh,
garage.
that's yeah. Ugh.
And I'm sorry. I don't care where you live. I mean, if I need to make like dump runs 2 or 3 times a week just to keep my house in order, I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry. And the other thing
Mhm.
too is, you know what? They don't have cameras pointing at your trash, where you dump your trash at. Just go and dump whatever the hell you need to dump. All right. Wrap
Yeah.
it up in bags and dump it. But it seems like he has a bunch of Karens here for the HOA. So they're probably the type of people that monitor and go through their trash and find them and shit. It's insane, especially him paying. I think he's paying what, $600 now a month in
Yep. Something like
HOA
that. Yeah.
fees. If I'm paying $600 a month in HOA fees, I would expect that would include them coming in my house, cleaning up the trash, and disposing everything at least once a week. I mean,
Yeah.
$600 ridiculous.
Yeah, his living situation is absolutely insane. Living in the gated community, trying to stay away from everyone. Like, you got to be careful, guys. Duty streams. He's outside. Okay, he's trolling me. I don't like it. Like, that's him every single day.
Oh,
And
he's
and
so
and,
insane.
and speaking of that, so what was the very first Phil content that you ever seen or ever heard from him or heard of him?
The very first content I ever saw of him was his reveal. So when he did a face reveal, it was the first time that he did that was the first time I saw him. And I didn't think much of him. I was just like, all right, this was back in this was a 2010, the
Yep.
inception of YouTube. So I didn't think much of him.
Yeah.
I followed some of his content, like I would see some of the like especially some of the racist stuff, the heavy rain
Yes.
and
Yes.
and I honestly look, I thought it was funny. I personally think it's funny. I'm a minority or urban style individual, so I don't get butthurt when people use stereotypes. It's to me, it's just funny. As long as you're not doing it like in a, you know what I mean, like in a harmful, hateful way. If you just want to crack a joke, I'm all good with that. So I thought it was kind of funny. I didn't think it was that bad. It's just he would that's all his content was.
Yeah.
I kind of saw that he was just a one trick pony and he got very boring. And then after that, when his channel started dying, I started watching some of his content. PewDiePie came up, Markiplier came up. But
Yeah.
I didn't pay much attention to it. I have to be honest. I would say like the first piece of content that I was just like, oh my God, was it happening? Was the May 1st burst. That was
Yes. Yep.
May 1st, 2016. And then I would watch him every so often whenever he would have a crash out.
Mhm.
But I really got into DSP like every day was when he lost his Twitch partnership and went over
Mhm.
to YouTube. And even that, I heard about it and I wanted to watch it. And I was like, oh, let's see what happened. The entitlement that came out of his mouth, I was just like, like in my head, you know what I mean? I'm like, it's insane hearing this guy talk, and I knew a little bit about streaming and so on. So a lot of the stuff he would just say, and I've run businesses and so on, and just and then I hear this guy's a business major, and I'm like, does he not like like? Is there some disconnect here going on in his brain? It was quite insane. And then I started following him every day, and then every day was just an epic crash out, and I was just like, oh my God, this guy is insane.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started doing like before that, I was doing Wings content a little bit. I was more of a
Yep.
Wings troll. But then Wings got super boring. He got depressed, got on medication, he got super boring. And then
Yeah.
I started watching more of DSP. And then, that's what I've been doing for the last four and a half, almost 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and then that was Sylvester doing his cameo appearance.
Big up
For-
Sylvester.
so for me, I DSP was creating content when I was in middle school. That's when I first heard of him, and there was actually
my
some
God.
kids. There was actually some kids that Evan, my co-host, Evan and I, we went to school with that were actually DSP fans, unironically. And we're trying behind the scenes style stuff. We're trying to bring them on, and we're not going to make them show their face or whatever, but we want to bring
I
them
got you.
on to
Yeah.
see how they react to him now, and being like, this is the guy that you watched in middle school. Do you remember him? And just see what their reaction is to DSP now. And like we've asked them, they don't watch his stuff anymore. They don't watch any of the gameplay stuff
Yeah.
on YouTube. They watch other content. But again, there was people that were huge fans of DSP. I always thought his content sucked. I hated the whole putting the camera on the
Yep.
coffee table. I always thought it just looked visually unappealing. And when I listened to DSP, I just thought like I hated this guy. Like I just always thought like his content was just always dog shit, for lack of a better term. And unironically, I would watch Wings. I watched Wings content back at that time. Him and Syndicate Project. And those were the two guys I mostly watched on YouTube. And then Wings kind of stopped doing that content, started doing more of PKA, Painkiller already. And when I got to high school, I kind of stopped watching all that stuff in general, and I kind of focused on sports. I played football, and that was kind of like my main thing at that time. And after I had graduated high school, my girlfriend at the time, she was scrolling. We got a smart TV, and she was scrolling, and then she was like, "Look at this guy! He's so big!" Like, and it was Sixum's
Yeah.
Wings of Redemption Rage compilation, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's Wings!" And I explained to her who he was. We watched that video, and I went down the rabbit hole ever since. And then I got reintroduced back to DSP, and I was like, this guy is still going on, and he's still terrible. And then I learned about the May 1st burst. I learned about all that stuff, and it's just a never ending loop with DSP and Wings. Wings has gotten somewhat better, where he's not like throwing controllers as much, but DSP is still the same scummy guy that he has always been.
Yeah, Wings got medicated, and
Yes.
honestly,
Yeah.
Wings' issue is that he says a lot of shit that gets him in trouble.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff he does is just, he shoots himself in the foot with many of the
Mhm.
things he said in the past. And I think some of it is true, and some of it was just made up to make him seem interesting. I do agree with that to some extent, but
Mhm.
again,
It's the
if you're gonna
context and the content that
yes.
he's saying.
Yes, exactly. So, but he was always entertaining. Like I found him to be funny, even when he was spiraling out, even when he was throwing the controllers out. I was a big, huge Sean Ranklin fan. I
Yes.
love Sean Ranklin. Sean Ranklin was good, and it was great. And then when he got really medicated, it kind of like died out because he started, he got
Yeah.
it wasn't funny anymore. It was depressing. And
Yeah.
when
It
it
was.
started getting depressing, it was like, all right, he's making me feel depressed. So let me move on.
Yeah. It went from him throwing controllers, doing all this crazy stuff to just.
Yeah.
And it's so
Yeah.
like, okay, we got it. Yeah, I agree with you. It definitely got boring. And I will say though, and a lot of people, I saw the comments of people saying this about Wings when he went on to LolCow Live. It kind of revitalized him, not in the sense of like his career, like, oh, he's done so much, but it kind of made people go, Wings is actually kind of normal when compared to other lol cows. And that's the beautiful thing about DSP is when you compare him to other lol cows, he's the craziest one of them all. Like he might have the house, he might have the wife and the cat, he has the family, but it's like DSP, you're insane. Like he's he the 220 real, he is a mentally disturbed individual as they labeled him.
I think so. I know. I don't know how much you know, but I have a special needs daughter who has autism.
Yep, yep.
So I'm not a big fan of just labeling insanity as autism all the
Yes,
time. You know
yes,
what I mean?
yes.
Some people are just scummy people. Some people do scummy things, and
Hmm.
and they like to just say, well, he's autistic or whatever. I mean, he does have some
Yes.
mannerisms that kind of remind you like, all right, there might be something going on here, but I don't think he's a dumb guy. Like I don't think he's a dumb guy. I think he's delusional, definitely.
Hmm.
And the one thing with Wings is that the one thing Wings has that Phil doesn't is that he's self-aware. Wings knows he's a locale. He
Hmm.
knows that he's doing this for money. He actually knows that, I mean, people can just turn him off in a minute and not give him any money. So
Exactly.
like he has this self-awareness and he knows, look, I don't know how much time I have left doing this. I'm gonna try to milk it as much as I can. And if the day comes and no one's watching my content, I'm gonna go work DoorDash or whatever full time. He has that self-awareness, which
Yep.
DSP doesn't.
Yeah,
DSP
no.
just he's completely unaware. He thinks like it's just insane. That's the thing I like most about following DSP and analyzing him, breaking him down. It's just a delusion. I sometimes I wonder, is it all an act where he's 4D chessing everyone and he knows like he is aware and everything, but he knows this is the only way for him to make money? Or is he just flat out delusional and insane? I bounce back and forth depending on the day because I watch something like I'll watch a daily rap and
Mhm,
I'm like, okay, this guy's not mentally all there. Something's going on here. And
mhm.
then I'll watch other streams where I'm like, all right, this is clearly an act. He knows what he's doing. He's hamming it up so that he can get some donations and so on. So
Mhm.
it's a very weird it's very weird when it comes to Phil. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think with Phil, I think he's very well aware of what he's doing. Like he knows that the begging people hate it, but he tries to sort of go ahead and make up a reason for it. Like the Bible says, guys, ask and you shall receive. Like it's always something crazy and just extra about him asking about or asking for stuff. And it's like DSP, that's not what that means. Or he'll try to twist and turn things again, like that quote, to make it so, yeah, that's what it means, guys. Ask and you shall receive. That's what it says in the good book. But like, and as someone who's religious myself, I
So
hate
am I.
that. Yeah, I that's the worst thing, and I always like whenever I tip, I'm always writing God bless, and I put the prayer hands.
Yes.
Like I do it in everything, whether it's on your stream, Lord Diaz's stream. Yeah, I'm always saying God bless to everyone, and I wish nothing but the best for everyone. I never wish harm on people.
Same.
It's a disgusting thing to do. But again, with DSP, he tries to twist and turn things so that he can manipulate situations so that he seems like the good guy, and he's very well aware of what he is doing, in fact, and he tries to reason with it, so in his mind and in his audience's mind they can be like, well, that's why he's doing that. No, he's doing it because he's scummy, and he
Yeah.
knows that he's scummy, and he doesn't want to work a job. I mean, can you imagine him? And this is actually one of the questions I have here. Can you imagine Phil? Like, imagine if he worked in a situation like, let's go retail. We're going to go to his favorite store, Total Wine. now
Ah, Total Wine.
I did some ops behind the scenes with Total Wine. I called the one out near him, and I got some information. I told Lord Diaz about this when we interviewed him. So if you actually go to the Total Wine website and you check out Spirits Direct or Winery Direct on any of the liquor that is there, that means it is a Total Wine brand, and it is only exclusively at Total Wine. So
Okay.
if DSP is ever drinking something on stream, search it up on the Total Wine website. If it says Winery Direct or Spirits Direct, that means it is 100% from Total Wine. So when he says like, oh, the bank leaks aren't real, well, the Total Wine stuff that he's drinking, you can only get it at Total Wine. So that proves the bank leaks even further. Like the Drago Azul Tequila, Total Wine brand. The Bank Street Bourbon is also a Total Wine brand. So I got that information, and they also have a rewards program. So for however much money you spend, you actually get those points back, and you can use it towards snacks, accessories, or towards more liquor. And we know DSP, he sees dollar signs like Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob, and he's going to get more liquor. So, but again, imagine him being one of the spirits professionals in the aisle trying to tell people about different liquors, like telling people about gin. Like, oh, you're gonna get Tanqueray? Are you fucking loser? Yeah, you got to get the whale tail.
Customer service is not Phil's strong suit. I
Yep.
mean, he's had several jobs, many of them in retail, customer service support. He worked at Sikorsky under his
Yep.
father. That was customer service. He worked at Jamba Juice, I believe, Circuit City, Best Buy. And the one thing that he has in common on all of those jobs is that he got fired. Now,
Yep.
some might argue, well, the Sikorsky got laid off. Come on, laying off is just a nice, kind word of saying we're letting you go because we see no value in keeping you.
Mhm.
But you haven't, you haven't done anything to the point where we can legally justify getting you, firing you. So we're
Yes.
just going to lay you off and let you collect 6 months of unemployment. And they probably did it because his dad worked there. His dad was a pretty, not a big shot, but his dad had a good reputation at the company. So they probably wanted to make sure and keep him happy and not just fire his son. So
Yeah.
he's been fired from pretty much everything he's ever done. He's
Mhm.
been fired from Machinima, that partnership. He's fired
Yes.
from
Yes.
Curse. I mean,
Yep.
it's just and I talked about it a little bit today on my podcast. Every relationship this guy's ever had has ended up in just failure.
Yes.
And I like to say this a lot about DSP is that in these situations, there's always one common denominator, and the common denominator is always DSP. Whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business opportunity with someone else, restreaming, the only thing that stays the same through all that is DSP. And all of them, it's funny because they always end up in the same exact way. They always end up in them being angry at Phil, them in fighting and fighting with Phil, and then Phil, of course, seeing them as enemies and detractors. Now, I can't say too much, but I have conversations with a lot of people in the Vortex. DSP supporters, people that have worked. I have a couple of his mods that reach out to me every so often and chat up with me and stuff like that. Darziak from time to time speaks with me and reaches out to me, and it's a friendly thing and whatever. I try not to just dump on people because but you've heard me. I don't care if you support Phil. Really, I don't really personally care. If you want to give someone time and money to someone, what is it to me? I don't pay your bills, so I don't tell anyone what to do with their money. So I try to be fair that way. So he reached out to me, and apparently they're having a big fallout. They're having a big fallout. Why? Because he criticized him regarding the Crimson thing. So apparently, I guess he didn't agree on him wage quitting it or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just had a fall in. I'm sitting here, I'm like, dude, I know for a fact that Darziak was the reason why DSP gave up his clothing gimmick. That was Darziak. He said, "Look, you look like a clown. People are mocking you. Get rid of that."
Yeah.
He was the one that helped them with his video quality. He was the one that helped them get his PC set up. He's done all this work for nearly 5 years. Never asked for money. Never has, as far as I know, never asked for money. Never done anything. Never really, crapped on DSP. Even when I've had conversation with him, he's been fair with DSP. Like he's never outright shitted on Phil. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or never given me any information, like, you know what I mean, like he's playing both sides. I'll say that about Darziak, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, are you serious? Like, what the hell is going on here? Why? I mean, you of all people, you've kind of eaten shit for this guy for 5 years, have helped him out, and yet he hates you now, or you guys are at odds because you had one disagreement.
Yeah, and the thing is too, now Phil is going to play the victim. Like he's going to say, like he's going to make up something or lie about something, being like, yeah, so I went ahead, I shouted this guy out, and I tried to go ahead and help him, even though I'm a small time streamer. You get it? And this guy goes ahead and he's talking to Duty. He's talking to Duty streams on Twitter, and he's gonna go on this rampage and try to make it seem like he's the worst person in the world, and he put up with them. He had to put up with them, but yet with Derek of all people.
I know.
Well, I'm sad because I have to get rid of him. He's always been a great member of the community. And this guy, about the playlist. I don't even like mentioning it. I don't like bringing it up. But he had that playlist, and he has been harassing mattress actresses.
I follow him. It's funny. I follow him on Twitter. Him and his 18 sock accounts or different accounts. Derek 18? Loves this. Derek, like 18. Yeah, Derek loves the Raptures. Derek loves chair. It just he has a plethora of them. So I follow them from time to time just to watch him. Yeah. And while the child video thing is, my view on that.
Yep.
I would probably say that maybe his Twitter is just far worse. I mean, the stuff that he posts, it's outrageous. I mean, and God forbid, one of these, stars, one of these adult actresses pass away. My God, the stuff he just says out of his mouth. One person, when was it? I think it was, I don't remember her name, but she was pretty famous. It's a shame she took her life. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm devastated that this happened to her. My favorite scene," and then started talking about favorite scenes, and like not just saying, "Oh, I like this movie." No, he was explicitly saying, "Yeah, you and this person when he did X, Y," and I'm like,
"Yeah, that's just not normal."
It's not. Yeah, I agree. I don't understand the whole Derek thing because no, he wasn't a supporter. He never gave. See, I'm not gonna, I sometimes exaggerate a bit about Phil here and there, whatever. But he's never supported. Derek never gave him any money. He never gave any super chats. He occasionally did a little bit of work, like tier lists, and at one point did thumbnails for him.
I was gonna say thumbnails. Yep.
Yeah, but he never really gave him any money. So it's just like, well, what is it? The only thing I can think about that Derek did was he kissed his ass. Like he never questioned Phil. He never said, "No, you're wrong." Like he would always like DSP can tell him that his mom's a whore. And I know this for a fact. She's a whore and your dad is what, like he could literally say that. And Derek would be like, "You know what? You're correct. Yeah, you're right." And now he can beat his mom. And I think that's what Phil likes. And I think what's going on now with him and Darziak is that, Darziak kind of questioned them and said, "Look, I don't agree with this." And he's those type of, you've ever encountered those people that when you criticize them, not even you just question them or you just be like, "Look, I don't agree with it." They take it as a personal attack. Like they think you're their enemy now. They take it as like you're attacking them. And it's like, no, they just have a disagreement. Like it's just normal. And he doesn't see that. He sees that as if you're disagreeing with me, then you're my enemy or you're a detractor.
Yeah.
And I think, some of it has to do where he's just so, he's so hurt from the internet, all these years of people trolling him and stuff like that, that he thinks that everyone wants to troll him, ultimately.
So I think it's that. And I also think it's upbringing. So Phil was an only child up until his late teenage years, where I think it was his cousin that moved in. Yep. So, I think that has something to do with it. So for me, my mom is the oldest of 4 kids. So when she had me, she had 3 brothers, so they were my uncles. The youngest uncle was in middle school when I was in kindergarten. So he was kind of like my older brother in that
Yeah.
sense. And we went to a school where it was K through 8. So
Mhm.
we would walk to school together. And so I kind of had that, and then my mom had my sister. So we would have all that. I know what it was like to have a sibling. DSP never had that. I mean, it was always him. It was always the attention was on him, and I think his mom babied him,
Smothered him,
absolutely
yeah.
babied him, to the point that it's to now you look see how he is now. He's a grown man child, so he never had to really deal with much of a struggle because they were well off. You look at the LinkedIn profile of his dad; he was a unit. I mean,
Yep.
he was employee of the month. It feels like every single month. Reading
Yeah.
that whole LinkedIn thing, I checked it out. I was like, holy shit, man! This
Yeah,
guy, what can
military
he do?
military
Yep.
guy with honors.
Hmm.
Yeah, I believe he was an engineer by trade. He worked
Yep.
at Sikorsky at,
Hmm.
which I think
And
was bought by Boeing.
and
Uh,
he worked moved his way up in
yeah.
Sikorsky as well. Like he wasn't just like, oh, I'm saying as an engineer. No, he went from there to head of
Is he
that
a senior
department to
VP?
next.
Yeah, I think he was a senior VP or something like that. I
Yeah.
know, yeah, I know he whatchamacallit, to the point too where he's a justice of the peace. I was talking about it today. His dad is a justice of the peace, which is I was reading it. It sounds like it's more of a like an alderman kind of thing, like for
Mhm.
smaller towns kind of thing. They set up kind of alderman and it's probably, I don't know if he gets paid. I don't know if it's a position you get, but I mean, he's a justice of the peace. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And those are typically just handed out to anyone. Most small cities like that, they typically, it's reputation, it's people, you know what I mean? Like it's not just, oh, anyone that wants to do it can just go ahead and do it. And he
Mhm.
seems like his dad was a bit of a pillar of the community, and they've lived there all their lives and everything. And his
Mhm.
mom seemed like, she tried her best. She was a stay-at-home mom. I think his mom was a teacher at one
Yep.
point, you know. And no, I agree. I mean, he's very sheltered. I don't think his mother ever said no to him.
Mhm.
It seems like his dad may have been out of the picture a bit, because if you hear DSP talk, he talks about how him and his dad really didn't have anything in common. His dad was more of an outdoors person. He liked
Yeah.
fishing.
Fish.
He
Yeah,
liked
the
camping.
fishing. They fish pick.
Yeah.
Why'd he send me that for?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It's just like, dude, your dad's trying to bond with you. I mean, like, or
Mhm.
he was happy. You know what I mean? You send him a picture, you send him something back and said, "Oh, that's awesome," and you just move
Mhm.
on with your day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Some of it too. I think a lot of it was just too is that it could be, and I mean, I don't want to get too into the whole, parenting and all that, but I think some of it is that when there's not a strong male figure there, because
Mhm.
I mean, my father passed away and I was very young, but I had my stepdad there, and my
Mhm.
stepdad was very firm. He was a very, he's fair but firm. And
Mhm.
I had that presence there of a father that I knew, if I, like, my mom was like 4'4", like she's a short little, woman that can't harm a fly. But
Mhm.
I have respect for my mother and so on.
Mhm.
And it was because my stepdad was there. I knew never to go out, never to get out of line. Like, I knew raising my voice to my mother was not appropriate. Talking
Mhm.
back was not appropriate. I mean, and it just didn't matter. So I had that instilled at a very young age. I mean,
Mhm.
you were talking about, your situation. I'm one of eight. So
Yeah.
I'm one of eight, and then my mother was one of 11.
Yep.
I have 43 first cousins, and we kind of all, yeah, it's a lot, man. My no TV. It's the no TV. They didn't have TV or cable, so they just had kids. All my uncles and aunts, they had like 4 or 5 kids. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I have 43 first cousins, and we kind of all grew up together and stuff like that. And I have probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 cousins about the same age as me.
Mhm.
So I had that I was held kind of accountable by
Mhm.
both my peers and my parents. And I'm not sure this guy had it. It sounded like he just, he spent way too much time with mom,
Mhm.
and dad was busy doing whatever.
Yeah.
And I think he needed that strong male I always joke and say, because Phil says this, I always joke on my stream that because I think Phil said his dad would drop him off at the arcade with like a bag of quarters. And I was like, yeah, he's probably running out, go bang. He's probably meeting up with someone and banging the secretary. And again, I'm not making that up. Those are Phil's words. He talked
Yeah.
about how his parents,
Yeah.
both his parents would have affairs to hurt each other, and how how they would put him in the middle of everything. So
Yeah, which is crazy to think.
yeah, I'm like, all right, well, it sounds like his dad was just a hoe, and he was
Yeah.
going around, popping the secretaries or whatever, and Phil was just, and they don't have that in common. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, well,
He has nothing. He literally has nothing in common with his
no,
dad. Kid, like Panda
no,
Lee. So Panda Lee, real quick, she was literally like, "Phil, breed me," and Phil was like, with the camera, like, "Now let's check out the bathroom, guys." Like, what is going
that's
on, Phil?
insane.
Like, just craziness, craziness.
He was looking for mom number two when he moved out.
Mhm.
Because again, Phil has this mindset of this is what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? It's very mechanical, and
Yep.
that's why I think some people believe he might be autistic because he's very mechanical with his thought process.
Hmm.
And he's like, well, no, if you're a man, this is what you're supposed to do. When you turn 18, you're supposed to go to college. When you're done college, you're supposed to do this. Like he has sorry about that. He has this mentality of this is what you're supposed to do. And I think he got to a point where he said, okay, well, you leave your parents out, then you're supposed to get married,
Yep.
and he didn't get married just because of Pandalie's age and all this other stuff, right? Whatever, right? But I mean, I think he was probably either looking to lock her down eventually, or maybe he thought, well, I don't want to get married because if I get married, then I'm going to be tied down. And if she
Hmm.
leaves me, she's going to take half,
Yep.
or whatever thinking. So he has this mentality of this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do this and I'm supposed to follow the track. And yeah, I never got the whole Pandalee thing. She wasn't ugly. She was young, so
Yep.
she seemed
Energetic.
down. Yeah, she seemed down. So it's like, dude, what's going on? Why are you so standoffish? Like, what's the deal? And then of course the May when May first happened, it's like, oh, okay, I kind of see what's going on here. He may I don't I really don't know. I don't know if maybe he's just not confident.
I
Maybe he
think it's confidence.
prefers.
I think
Yeah,
it's
probably.
confidence, and like I wouldn't know from experience, but I've heard that apparently if you do that too much, like after a
That's right.
while, like
Yeah, yeah,
it affects you.
yeah.
So that could be it too. I can
The
imagine.
watching, yeah,
Yeah,
the watching of that type of stuff, it tends
exactly.
to, you sort of,
Become
yeah,
desensitized.
yeah, you become, yeah, exactly. That's what it could be. That I'm not sure. I really think I've talked about this, and again, was all this is really speculation,
Hmm.
but I think maybe he had a crisis at a certain point that he never dealt with, maybe his sexuality,
Yes.
and again,
Hmm.
it comes to this rigid narrowness in his brain where he said to himself, "Nope, I'm a man, and this is what I'm supposed to do." And not everyone deals with that. Like, I don't think
Hmm.
I ever dealt with that. Like, I know at a very young age, to me, dude, I remember being like 5, and I remember seeing this woman that was just like, oh my god, she's like, and I'm 5. I don't know what I'm, you know what I mean. So
Hmm.
to me, I don't think I've ever had that situation where I questioned it or whatever. But some people do.
Hmm.
You go through a phase. Sometimes you have a guy best friend that you think he's the world, and for some, not every, some people, and you
Hmm.
got to deal with that, and you got to be like, okay, is that my thing? Like, well, like what's going on? I don't know if he suppressed it. I'm not sure he fully dealt with it, but it's funny, like the Warski thing with the ads
Yes.
and
Yes.
LTG and just those little things that creep up. You kind of say to yourself, all right, bro, like, what's going on here? The point where he can't even look at a female in a video game
Yeah.
that has maybe exaggerated breasts or something like that. He gets all skeeved out.
Hmm.
Versus when a guy, like the whole Norman Reedus thing, and he's all fine with that. He jokes about it, and he's just like, oh yeah, it gets weird. It's like, all right, what's
Hmm.
going on here, man? You want to tell us something?
My theory with that, and I look at his relationships like we talked about earlier. John Rambo being gone hurt Phil. It
Yeah,
hurt Phil, and you can tell that Phil was like offended by everything John said in that video where him and Howard just talked about Phil and the lies that Phil had said about them and the people that worked on Project 7. He was bothered. He went, "No, no, I don't need to apologize. He needs to apologize to me. I have the same number. I have," and he got really angry when he talked about Panda Lee, and he was just like, like Panda Lee, I don't know. Okay. And now you look at like with Kat, the way he talks about Kat is just really disrespectful. Yeah, she baked that cake and it gave me diarrhea. Guys, this isn't a pregnancy announcement. Like
yeah,
it's absolute. It's crazy to me. Like just way that. he goes ahead and just disrespects her, one to her face, and two just on one to her face, two on stream. And when you look at the way he talked to Asmongold, he talked to Kino Casino, and it was with utmost respect. And I get it, it's kind of a business thing, but for Phil, it wasn't just business. It was someone to talk to. You know, he was one of the boys on the casino. He was trying to get the third chair, and his relationship with them was more um affectionate, like
No,
complimenting Andy Worski's abs. You're my gaming
maybe so,
soulmate.
man. Yeah,
Like, I don't think Phil would ever say that to Kat. Like, imagine
no,
if Phil they came out with a new Army of Two. I don't think Phil's going downstairs and going, "Hey, Kat, you want to go play Army of Two? You could be my gaming soulmate." No, he's gonna go ahead and say, "Did you break the vacuum again? Are you staring at it again like an idiot, like I described you on
yeah.
stream?" Um, yeah,
I,
just ugh.
I think some of that goes to the fact too is that you can tell that he seems to have this I don't want to say hatred, but
Mhm.
a he kind of look I don't
It's a
there's
disdain
a word,
towards women.
a disdain towards women. Yes, yeah, and I don't know if it came from his mother. Like if you ever hear him talking
Yep.
and talk about the whole, you
All
can see
women
that
are
there's some
whores.
yes,
They
yes.
tease you. The incel manifest. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the reason why he gets that you get that disrespect from you see the disrespect with Panda Lee and Kat because he just thinks, oh, they're just women. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like, who cares?
Versus John Rambo, PPP, Andy, where he sees them as, oh, you're men, and I'm trying to be friends with you, so I need to show the utmost respect to you. I can't, you know what I mean? Like I would never say something that would be derogatory toward you. And I think some of that just is that kind of like that disdain or kind of disrespect the women. He sees them kind of
Mhm.
as lesser. And as
Yep.
a person that's been, I've been married a long time. I'm married, Jesus Christ, 34 years coming up this summer.
Wow.
And it's like, no, there's just certain things that I know my wife wouldn't tolerate, and I
Hmm.
wouldn't do that. I have two girls, so it's like I would never want them. You know what I mean? Like I'm an example to them. Like this is how a guy should treat you and stuff.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
I would never envision myself just saying half the shit. Like if I were to bring soulmate on, I would never envision saying some shit like this isn't a pregnancy announcement. What God, even if she say gained a few pounds or whatever, I would never do that. Like it would
Yeah.
just that would be insane. Like, are you insane? Like, first of all, you're disrespecting your wife. You're disrespecting the woman that you claim you love. And for who? For a bunch of straight? Like it's insane. But I think that's what it is
Hmm.
when it comes to his reaction with males versus females. Like
Hmm.
I just think that's how he is, and he will easily cut down a woman than he would a man. He
Yeah.
would,
Agreed.
yeah, easily,
Agreed.
yeah.
I mean, look at Lex when she was streaming.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. He was brutal. He
he
was
was upset.
brutal,
Yeah,
and he didn't like that she built the Lego set
faster than
faster
her.
than
That's
him.
funny.
Yeah, and Triple P was kind of having some fun calling her Lesbo Lex, and then
I
Phil tried
I
to
actually, I actually have a little insight in that story. So,
okay.
and I know people are gonna say, "Oh, you simp, dude." No, 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 no. I had some conversations with Lexi in the background
Yeah.
because everything was going on. So I had messaged her on Twitter. I said, "Hey, I really think it's great that you're playing along. You're being a good sport."
Hmm.
I just say like that. She's like, "Oh, thanks. It's a lot of fun." Blah 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 blah. So then she messaged me a couple times. She was like, "Oh, what is this? Why are people spamming this?" So I gave her a little bit of a lore. So she was kind of playing into a little bit,
Love
and
it.
she told me she was like, "I'm not going to do this long term. This isn't my thing. It's just
Yep.
something fun because people are coming in and supporting, and it's just all
Hmm.
fun or whatever." I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. It's all good, whatever." And then when that happened, when he came on, I was just like, my God, the rich, like you could literally, and I think he has that with like OnlyFans, any attractive woman
Yep.
that streams, he has a problem with because he automatically assumes, oh, it's not that they're good gamers, it's not that they're entertaining, is that men are simping for her.
Yep.
And that's not true. I mean, yeah, there are women that men's definitely. You're always going to get a
Yep,
simp whenever there's a
absolutely.
woman involved. But there are a lot of content creators out there, female content creators that are great. You know what I mean? And they might be attractive or whatever. But I'll give you a couple. Sydney Goodman, she's a YouTuber. She worked for
I
IGN.
was gonna say she did
She
the daily thing, yeah,
Yeah, she
for
did the daily thing. She's very attractive. She is. She's very attractive, but she's funny. She puts out good content. I watch some of her Twitch streams. Her Twitch streams are really good and funny. She's
mhm.
very interactive with the chat. Good content creator. Sweet Anita. I thought she's doing the whole goth thing now, whatever. But Sweet Anita, I don't know if you know her. She's the one with
Sweet.
Tourette's. She has Tourette's.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I okay. Once you
Yeah.
said she has Tourette's, I've watched some
Yes.
compilations of her.
I used to watch her. I used to watch. I started watching her because she reminded me of my daughter. She looks a little bit like my oldest daughter. And I showed
Okay.
my wife one time. I was like, "Oh, look!" And then she started yelling something about cock or whatever. Like she was having an episode, and my wife's like looking at me where she's like, she has Tourette's. And my wife didn't believe it. She's like, no, she does. You can watch her content, whatever. But I just thought she was funny. She had the bunnies, and I thought that she was
Mhm.
just a sweet content creator, and she was pretty interesting. So I would watch her every so often or whatever. Like I would watch her. But again, that would be someone that I would say, oh, she's pretty entertaining. She
Mhm.
has a good story, the Tourette's thing and how she deals with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
But
she's
no,
been kind of an advocate too.
yes, yes, exactly. And she raises a lot of money for Tourette's awareness, for medical research. She does, you know what I mean? But again, she would be someone that Phil would look at and be like, "Oh, she's a titty streamer. She's
Mhm.
just selling. She's doing squats for money or whatever." And she
Oh,
does
she's
none of that.
faking the Tourette's, like, he would
Yes.
say
Oh
that, like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
she's
yeah, yeah.
faking it 100%.
Yes.
This is just an act,
Exactly.
guys. Act, 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 act."
Yeah, and it's just bitter. It's just bitter jealousy of Phil.
Mhm.
That's another reason why I find him interesting, because like I I don't I don't like pocket watching anyone.
Yeah.
I don't even pocket watch the DSP. I do it as a joke here so often when he doesn't hit his goal, because I know it means so much to him, and
Yep.
I know it gets under your skin. But me personally, I don't care.
Mhm.
I'm the type of person that I cheer people's success. Like
Mhm.
like when people are like millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, whatever. I'm not jealous. I'm happy for them. I'm like, I wish that was me. You know what I mean? Like, show me what you did so that I can get there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I'm just not a jealous person like that. I know that
Yeah.
there are other detractors that make better content, that they, you know what I mean? And I'm
Mhm.
happy for them. I'm like, all right, I don't begrudge them or whatever. And then you have Phil, that's just a total opposite. They get so mad and jealous about everything.
Mhm.
And it's like, why are you so bitter? Like when I look at Phil, I say to myself, dude, you're a 43, almost a 44-year-old person who fapped
Yep.
on stream,
Yes.
didn't get booted. You one of few people that have managed to parlay a career after that.
Yeah,
You know what I
the
mean?
plot armor with him is insane.
Yes. Yes, you're someone that's hated by tons of people. I mean, thousands. He has more haters than people that like him.
Yes, yes.
And he still managed to make a career out of it and stuff. I'm like, dude, you're making a buck 20 a year. You're
Mhm.
living in a gated community. You have enough money to buy as much DoorDash and gin as that you want. You should just be happy and stop being a jealous douchebag.
Yep, and stop
Because
spending on WWE
yes,
champions.
yeah, and even that. Look, if you look, we joke about the WWE champions. I think it's funny. I think it's insane. But if he wants to spend his money on knock yourself out, brother. Go sell your wife's bras so that you can do a Hogan. I don't care. Like, it's just funny to me. I'm gonna laugh and make jokes,
Mhm.
but I really just don't care. If that's what makes him happy, then own it. You know what I mean? I just don't like when he lies about it. Like, I don't like.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
don't like. Own your shit. You want to be a scumbag? Own it. I respect someone who says, "Yep, I'm a scumbag. I own it. It is what it is. You don't like it. Tough shit." I respect that person more than someone who tries to act like a nice guy, that does the scummy shit behind the scenes, and then it comes out that, oh no, this guy's really a scumbag. Like,
Yeah.
I would rather befriend that first person who's just a doucher than someone like DSP.
Yeah, exactly. And Meerkat Mob, to his credit,
Ah,
has
shout out
always
Meerkat.
yeah, not to Meerkat, shout to that being said, Meerkat Mob has said on multiple occasions, he was like, unironically, when Phil was the guy he was when he first started out, that was the more entertaining Phil. Phil like freaking out at games, Phil saying the crazy shit that he was saying. He's like, this watered down Phil is just terrible. Like, he's not entertaining, he's not funny. I would much rather him just go explicit and just say some crazy shit. And I mean, a lot of people do feel that way. I mean, I there's times where I'm like, he might be onto something with that. So, I mean,
Do you
that's
want to know? Do you want to know why?
why.
Because that's genuine.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Him screaming, shouting, yelling at people, saying the racist shit, all that's genuine in Phil. That's Phil, okay?
Mhm.
And again, you can respect the person who's genuine than someone that's a fake. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I think that's the reason why people like DSP initially. The problem with Phil is that he didn't pivot from it. Like, it got to a point where he hit his peak, and then instead of pivoting, and then you saw other content creators like PewDiePie, Markiplier doing it differently, like doing the same thing but doing it differently. He chose not to pivot. He chose not to pivot, and he doubled down on what he was doing. So then, of course, you're going to see a decline there. And he just it got to the point where it went too long and too late for him to actually pivot,
Mhm.
because by that point YouTube kind of already forgot about him.
Exactly.
And he's just been a bitter person. So what he did was he then tried to reinvent himself, and tried to claim like he's more interactive. That's where the
Mhm.
whole streaming phase came in, where he was a nice guy. He was no longer the childish racist, and he doesn't say all those things anymore. He's all about the gaming. And then
Mhm.
you watch his streams, and half of it is begging and cursing and yelling at people. And it's just like, no, wait a minute. You told us you're chill and meaningful.
Yeah.
Where's the chill and meaningful at?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd
It's
rather have him be this, like, again, I think I would probably wouldn't be a detractor if he was the scumbag and own it. Cause I'd be like, all right, well, he's a scumbag and he owned it. It's funny. And I wouldn't find that interesting. What I find interesting is that he is the scumbag. He tries to hide it. And I love when he reveals himself. Like, I like the mask exposed. And it's
Mhm.
like, wait a minute, you just contradicted everything you said previously and all that. That's the fun stuff for me. I think
Mhm.
if he would just straight up own being a douchebag, I'd be like, all right, well, he's a douchebag. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? Am I gonna
Yeah.
say he's a douchebag? Oh, yeah, everybody knows he's a douchebag. Uh, yeah.
So, I got some questions about the detractor universe. Um, and I'm gonna go through them now. And the
Yep.
first question that I have for DSP, you are considered his number one op. I mean, he goes ahead and he quotes your thumbnails. He says your name. If he says your name, he has a picture of you on a dartboard and he's throwing darts at it. Is there any pressure that comes with that being like the top op? Because I mean, your content is everywhere. Whenever you search DSP,
Yeah.
you're the introduction to the snort text or the detractor verse, whatever term you want to use. Is there any type of pressure that comes with that, or do you just roll with the punches and just say screw it, let's post content, let's have fun, let's have a laugh?
I roll with it. I roll with it. It doesn't bother me. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if how much you know, but
Mhm.
I do get attacked quite a bit,
Yeah,
both
the
from
Bikino, I've seen that
and
one.
detractors and
Yep.
whatever. And I tend to run with it. Like, I have a rule that I don't fight with other detractors. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Unless it's just blatant and they're, like, I think I had one issue with Pastor Eric a couple years back, and that was because he escalated. He started making death threats and all that stuff.
Yep.
So that was the only reason why I said, "Oh, okay, you want to play this game? Cool, I can play the game." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But that's probably the only person. Like, I've had a fallout recently with Chill Murray. I don't know, you know who Chill Murray is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's not that big, but he got upset of something that I did. I apologized, and he just never, which is fine. And again, I said, "Wish you luck." I wish you the best of luck. I'm not, I don't trash. I just don't do that, and I don't do that with other people either. You know what I mean? Like, I try not to.
Mhm.
But I roll with it. I don't think I'm the biggest detractor because of the content or the quality, because I can point out there's tons of. I mean, like, that being said, they own the podcast
Yep.
sphere. Restreaming Raw Phil, his chat is great.
Yep.
Edit for clips, memology, goat. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, he's
He's
the
the
goat when
best.
it
Yep.
comes to that. I think what it is just the consistency. I'm the one that posts every day. I post a lot of the dumb shit that people are like, oh, like, I get that a lot. Like, people would say, why'd you post that? And it's like, because I want people to see who DSP is. Like, the number one question I always get is, why do you leave the dead air in? And I said, because I want people to see who DSP is. I want you to know this is what you get when he's screeching and screaming about no support, No one's watching. It's like, yeah, this is why. Here, Phil, this is why. I
Mhm.
really try to focus on the unrecorded segments where he's begging that he cuts
Yep,
that out of his video, and I try to focus on that because I really want people to know this is DSP. This is who you're getting. And I think
exactly.
most people know that's what I'm doing. Some
Yep.
people don't. Some people think is that I'm being lazy or that I'm doing this, and it's all about ad revenue and what. And again, yeah, I'm making bank on this every month. I joke all the time that DSP paid for my daughter's college.
Yep.
4 years of college tuition coming out of DSP. So yeah, I am making money. I've tried my best to help other detractors. Like, you don't know this, but there's probably been about 30 detractors that have come to me and ask for help to get monetized, to get all this stuff. And it's
You're
like,
here right
hey,
now. You're
yeah,
here right
cool,
now.
yeah. I shout people out, like,
Mm.
I'm it's all good. You know what I mean? It's all fun. It's all fun. And I know that there's going to be someone that's going to come out that's going to clip better than me. That's probably going to get
Mhm.
more views. I know it's going to happen. And it's like, hey, more power to you. Like Snore Hogan, there was a point where me and Snore Hogan were competing. Snore Hogan came to me. He used to watch my videos. He came to me and he asked me, "Hey, can you help me with my channel?" I said, "Yeah," and I kind of gave him some tips or whatever. Me and Snort are buddies. We're good buddies. We talk all
Mhm.
the time and stuff like that. And there was a point where his videos were just out. We were doing the same thing, but his videos were outpacing mine,
Mhm.
which was cool. I was happy for him. I would tell him all the time, if you don't have time to clip, just take my video and just upload it. You know what I mean? Like, put your logo on it and just upload it. I don't care, you know. And knowing that people would not come watch my clips, they would watch his clips. And it's like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, to
Mhm.
me, it's like the more the merrier. And I find it to be more fun and when more people are involved. Like, I
Agreed.
really like, yeah, I love that the Tractor Clipper is out there, the Tractor Red is out there, Hey RV. There are all these newcomers in the vortex making content. I think it's great. It's like, hey
Mhm.
man, the more the merrier.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
like it too because there's a wide variety and everyone puts their
Yes.
own little spin on it. You have King Jad. He like the
Yeah.
freestyles, the bingo.
The
The
bingo.
bingo
I
is
like the
insane.
bingo.
The
Yeah.
bingo is crazy. Like, are we gonna get a snort today?
Yeah. I mean, and I always tell everyone, like, the vortex is big, and if you don't like my content or like my style or whatever,
Mhm.
it's all good. I'm not going to get upset. I try not to fight or argue with people in chat,
Mhm.
and I try to do. I try to be like I try. That's why I mod everybody. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm gonna mod everybody because I don't want people banning people or whatever. It's just everyone's a mod.
Mhm.
And just keep it respectable. Don't go too far in the chat or
Yeah. Don't
whatever.
say
And
nothing
everything's
wild. Yeah.
yeah, everything's cool. Just don't break terms and don't harass people. Like, you could harass people as feel like to say or go back and that's fine. But like calling someone like an N-word or just that it's like,
Or
okay,
like,
but
yeah, anything extreme.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Even Phil Dents when they come onto the chat, like Buckwell was a visitor for a while. 220 was on my streams for a while. OIC was there for a
Yep.
while. He actually got fat a thing for me. It was really weird. It was strange. Like, he would post on Kiwi Farms. Like, if you go to Kiwi Farms, there's actually a thread with OIC. He goes to OI and he would talk about how he had a thing for my voice and all that. Like, he was coming. It was really, I don't know if it was a LARP or whatever. It was very weird, but whatever. And
Yeah.
he would come to my streams and drop donos all the time. And I'd be like, all right, like I wouldn't mistreat him. I'd be like, whatever, just leave him alone, just let him be. And I try to just tell people, look,
Mhm.
I know you're gonna razz these people because they support Phil, but just keep it within limits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Agreed.
yeah.
Agreed.
So I try to foster that kind of whatchamacallit on my streams. And again, I try to tell people it's not that deep. Like, when I come out with wild conspiracy theories or
Mhm.
I'm pushing a narrative or whatever, none of us know. You know what I mean? Like the whole marriage thing, the whole divorce thing, the divorce coin thing. For me, that was an arc for like 2 years running.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was pushing it hard. I was writing fan fiction. I talked about how Kat actually left and she got an apartment, and that's why Phil couldn't play WWE Champions as much because he was paying rent. And like, I wrote fan fiction. I even said when she works part time, that's when Phil gets custody of Jasper. So
I
when
remember that.
I mean? Yeah, it was just, and then when we found out that she was there, it's like, all right, well, the LARP went away. I did a little bit of humble pie, which is fine.
Yeah.
But of
No,
course,
it's you have to you win
yeah.
some, you lose some. It's fine.
Yes. But I had people like I had not on my stream, but I had people like messaging me
Mhm.
saying you're stupid, you lied, you fell for it. And I'm like, what do you like? It's just a joke. Like it was
Yeah.
just a joke. It was just to me. It's like a LARP. I'm LARPing.
Yeah, I was like,
Um,
"Huh?"
yeah, I was just like, okay, like okay. I was, and again, some of it is making content, being creative, trying to be a little funny.
Mhm.
Give people what they want or whatever. And I think the one phrase I say a lot is don't the shit I'm saying here. Don't take it. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. Just it's just comedy. It's fun. Like I tell people, look, if I'm being serious about something, I will say I'm being dead serious about this. I'm not joking about this. This is something serious. But if it's just fucking around and laughing at Phil, whatever, and coming up with no, it's just like, all right, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
the other reason too is that I'll give you another example too. Sometimes is I tend to feel like I need to push back occasionally because there's this whole narrative out there, and it happens to everyone. Whenever you kind of blow up in the vortex or any
Mhm.
community, you
Yes.
start getting hit with the label of, oh, you must be paying them. Like I get that a lot. Oh, you pay DSP.
Yeah.
You give him subs. And I'm like, no, I don't do any of that. Now, a lot of people like to point to the whole Argentinian thing because I LARPed. I LARPed. People thought I was doing it, and even
Yep.
DSP on the smart guys, he said it twice to PPP
Yeah, I
because
remember that.
PPP ended up first time I did the smart guys, someone donated, a troll donated, and
Mhm.
PPP was shouting it out, and Phil was like, "No, that's a troll. Whatchamacallit." And I guess he didn't know what the Argentinian thing was. And he said, yeah, but there's some people out there, duty. And then, he's just going on. So as soon as he said that, I said, oh, okay. He thinks I'm doing it. And I know everything I do seems to irritate him.
Yeah, you're
So
you're
I
you're
was,
the top op. You're his top
yeah,
op.
yeah. I always tell everyone I have a knack of annoying people. Like I easily annoy people. I do. It's a bad habit
Mhm.
that I'm pretty good at. Now I don't do it on purpose, but if I like with Phil, you know what I mean? I'm his detractor. So
Yep.
I'm gonna find whatever it is out there that just annoys him, and I'm just gonna LARP it. Now, for some people, they enjoy that and they know what I'm doing, but some people find that annoying, and it's
Mhm.
just like, all right, well, look at what I'm trying to. I always tell people, look at what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get under Phil's skin. So I would go in there and I would say because I know the other thing was too is that people say, well, you said in Raw Phil was you, or whatever. I was like, yeah, Phil is watching Raw Phil. Phil is watching Raw Phil. Have you ever noticed that? Like when Phil's streaming and he talks about, when you detractors say this, I already know that you're on the restreamer watching and you're
Yeah.
coordinating. He's watching Raw. He's watching Raw Phil. He probably has the Raw Phil chat up on the
Yep.
side, so he sees what they're doing to see if they're running ops, right?
Yeah. He always like the biggest one of the biggest lies he tells is that he doesn't watch any of the content. But then
Fly.
you can post a video that is just like, oh, DSP craps his pants on stream. And then he will go ahead. He'll be like, "Yeah, yeah. These, can you believe these guys? Like, they just sit there and they think that I can't. I'm not in control. Like, not even of my bowels. They think that I'm like out here just crapping my pants. Like, I don't watch any of the stuff,
Uh,
guys. I don't watch any of the stuff. But I go ahead and I'm just, I'm just a chill content creator. You get it? And again, and it's always like scat humor with him too. That's why I
I
use
know.
that as an example because it's always scat humor. It's always something gross. Like I hate when he burps into the microphone or
It's
snorts,
disgusting.
and yeah, or like he just rips ass on stream. Like
It's
mute
a
mute
lack
the
of
mic.
respect.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lack of
exactly,
respect.
exactly.
It's definitely a lack of respect. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, the one thing, so yeah, I mean, he definitely checks for the ops. He definitely makes sure that the ops isn't happening. So I saw that, and I was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna start posting shit because I want him to read and think, what I'm doing. And literally, when the whole smart guys thing happened, he mentioned my name. And I
Yep.
said, "Oh, okay." He read it on Raw Phil. He saw that I was, posting it. I know who does it. It's three people that does it. Two actors. They go in and they coordinate. They just bombard,
Yep.
and it's funny. And usually they reach out and say, like they'll DM me and they'll say something like it's Argentinian time or something. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Are they gonna start slamming Phil with just Argentinian stuff?
Do they just send
And
you the flag emoji and they're just like,
no,
it's
usually they say it's Argentinian time. You know what I mean? I'll get a
oh,
DM, and I'll just
love it.
start laughing. So it's like they give me the heads up so I can clip it, which
Mhm.
is which is cool. I'm clipping it, whatever. It's not a big deal. So I
Oh,
clip it and post it or whatever. But what I'm saying is that you do run into that after a certain point. People are going to start disliking you. They're going to start saying shit about you. I mean, anytime I go on the Raw Phil stream, or even that being said, like I get bombarded with just people calling me a dent and saying, "Oh,
yep.
shut up, duty, leave." And it doesn't matter where I go, and it's just like, okay, like, all right.
Yeah, great.
Okay, cool,
So,
cool, thumbs up.
appreciate it.
I usually say, "Hey, what's up?" and I'll say their name or whatever. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just like, all right, I'm not gonna stress over that. But
yeah.
to answer your question, initially, I'm sorry that I rambled on
No,
for a
you're
bit.
fine.
No, I really don't feel the pressure. It's just to me, it's fun, and I know that I don't do anything special. There are way more talented people in the vortex. I can name a bunch of them. Meerkat talented. That being said, the podcast is great. The Hey Harvey stuff. I like Hey Harvey stuff. He's been really funny. Um,
Mhm.
Anyone that does kind of animations, Pixar animation, just
You
there's
should
a
check out
ton.
Denim Banana. I love the intros from Denim Banana.
Denim Banana. I haven't seen. I may have seen a clip of it, but I haven't delved too deep into it. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of great, funny. Like I like Brand Dude. Brand Dude is
Oh yeah,
good.
I forgot
Atlas.
about Brave Dude.
They haven't been around. Brand Dude and Atlas haven't been around much.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love their content. Content's good. I like King Sly. That's my homie.
Yeah,
He's great.
yeah, that was actually gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of detractors that have criticized you, but King Sly, out of everyone, he has been like your number one supporter.
My homie. Well,
Yeah,
he's
he
he's my number one black friend. He's my number one urban style friend. So
yeah,
I mean,
he goes to bat for you every time.
he's a
There
good
was
dude.
one stream that he did, and I watched it in its entirety leading up to this, where his question simply was, "Name one bad thing that Duty has done. Name
Yeah.
one atrocious thing." And like there was some people in the chat like that were saying you're
Yeah.
giving DSP money, you're doing this. Like it was all assumption based, and it wasn't really anything that was backed by evidence. And no one could really respond in the chat. Like there was a couple people that were saying, "Oh, he doesn't edit videos," and I'm like, "Yeah, but he's a clip channel."
Yeah, I
You
know.
do some commentary. Like I wouldn't go ahead and say, "Oh man, the NFL the NFL page is terrible because they don't post like hockey." Like, I wouldn't go say, "Oh, that being said is terrible because they only podcast." Like, you go to certain channels for certain type of
Yep.
content.
Yeah.
You're a clip channel, and no one really seemed to have any like reasonable discourse for why they disliked you. It seemed like some of the discourse was seemed to me just to be jealousy. And in my
Yeah, I mean,
conversations with you in the DMs, like you've been nothing but cordial. And you go into other streams. I've seen you on Lord Diaz's stream, shouting
yeah,
him
yeah.
out and,
Yep.
and giving love to everyone in the community, giving them their flowers. And again, like every conversation we've had has been nothing but cordial and professional. I mean, you're a nice guy, and you support
Yes,
other
yes. My
channels, and
mother
you
said
try
I was
to.
a nice guy. Yeah, my mother said he's a nice guy.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know. I mean, there's
I think
I do
I think I rub people sometimes the wrong way, and I get
yeah,
that. There's certain personalities, you know what I mean? Like the one thing I don't get to is a lot of people get upset with me when I talk in the third person, and I've tried to tell people I don't talk in the third person in real life. This is
yeah.
just because
You're trying to
like
keep your personal life and
yes.
your internet life separate, and I get that.
And that's a
I
low-cal trait, though. That's the other thing. Like when like Wings always talked in the third person,
yes,
Boogie does it, Keem, like all of these locals, they always talk in the third person, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just larping as them, and people don't get. And they, dude, I that's probably one of the biggest criticisms that I get in my comment section, and also like emails and DMs. Like,
Mhm.
stop talking in third person. It sounds stupid. I'm like, it's just a LARP. Like, I mean, I'm LARPing. And even Phil does it to some extent. He's kind of stopped talking in the third person, but even he does it from time to time. He'll say DSP, and then he'll ramble on about whatever.
yeah,
Uh, but and again, I don't mind the criticism. It's all good. Like, I don't really mind the criticism. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm
mhm,
not a big fan of when people just make shit up, and it's just like, all right, well, those
yep,
are people I just ignore. I don't really respond to them because it's like, all right, well, you already have your mind set on this, so anything I say is just not gonna, and then they get insulting, which whatever, it's fine. I try not to get too hurt because I try because I know I give Phil the criticism of, look, you're a public figure, you're streaming online, you're e-begging, this comes with the territory. People are going to
Yep.
dislike you. People are going to spam you. People are going to troll you. Everyone gets it. You're not special. Suck it up. Shut the fuck up and just deal with it. Look at that 120K you're making a year and be happy with it, right?
Yep.
So
Exactly.
I try to live by that standard too, where if people are going to troll me, mock me, or whatever, it's just like, all right, well, I'm not gonna. That's your opinion, and it's fine, and it's all good. And I try. Does it hurt? Yeah, sometimes it gets a little bit much. You know what I mean? But for the most part, it's like, all right, they got an opinion. They don't like me. It's all cool. And my thing is just like, all right, well, thanks for watching my video.
Yeah.
I hope you watched an ad at least. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, thank you. I appreciate it. So, and just move on.
Yeah. So again, for like King Sly, again, he's been like your number one supporter. When was the first time you ever like interacted with King Sly?
That was the whole Pastor Eric arc.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I don't know if you know about the whole Eric.
I knew about Pastor Eric, and I did see the videos of him saying like the crazy stuff. I even watched the two episodes of That Being Said. He was supposed to be on one, he never showed up, and then he was on the following episode. So I did watch that. I watched some clips of him. I can't say anything positive, really.
It got crazy. It got crazy with him, and I tried ignoring him. And I even made a video where I tried to be positive about him, and then he started making threats. The guy emailed me and literally made death threat. Talk about he was going to find me and bury me and dude. It was bad.
That's crazy.
And I actually I forwarded it to YouTube, and I forwarded it to his local authority. I said, you guys might want to
take care of this.
Watch him, take care of him. Yeah, he's fucking Looney Tune. Yeah. And then I started like, all right, I'm not gonna deal with this guy. It's just like I don't deal with PWR because PWR is on drugs and all that shit.
Yeah, listen here, dude. I'm over it.
Yeah, I don't mess with people like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, he emailed me and he was like, hey, dude, you don't know me. I'm King Sly, blah, 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 blah. I just want to know if you want to have an interview. And I was just like, yeah, I have an interview. Whatever you want to do is fine. He was like, all right, you open to anything. I was like, yeah, I'm there's no, I'm not gonna, I'll do whatever you want to ask. It's fine. And then he was like, all right, do you mind if I bring Eric on? I was like, yeah, I don't care. It's your show. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good, And then I showed up, I was on, he never popped on. So that pissed off King Sly. And he was like, look, Duty's here to talk to you. He didn't put any precepts. He didn't do it. You know what I mean? He's willing to talk to you. He's willing to squash it. Why don't you want to come on? And then he just went insane. And then from there, then he started having beef with King Sly. And then he started making threats to him. So me and King, we got close around that time. And then we did where we buried him, where we got, so he would always talk about the devil and all that, right? Yep. And I think at the time where all this started, he was like at 1,300 subs. And the interesting thing is he was one of these people that DM'd me and asked me to help with his channel and all that. Yep. Shout him out, help him get monetized and all that, which I did. I helped him get all that stuff. And, he was always talking about the devil. So we said, what would be funny if we can get a sub count to drop to 666. So that was the whole shtick for about a month. Let's get a sub count down to 666, and then we'll have 666 podcast or whatever.
Oh man, DSP beat you to it. He had the 666.
Yeah. No, I beat him to it. This was 2003 when this happened. Yeah. This was 2003, January 2003 when all this. January 2023 when all this happened. Yeah, this was before the 666 podcast.
Okay.
So there was a time where I was telling people, yeah, we're going to get him down to 666 and then we're going to have a funeral for him and all this. And then we're going to squash the beef. Then crazy. We got him down to this. And then he has it on his channel. If you look up King Sly 666 podcast or some shit like that, or if you type in King Sly Duty, you should see it. And it's on his channel.
I'm gonna pull that up.
Yeah, right and now. what we did was we trolled him with his AI Samantha girlfriend, because apparently he had an AI girlfriend that was called Samantha, and she wore this mask, like a robbery mask with a gun. It had a gun logo on the forehead. So we came on and we both wore the mask and everything, and it was just insane. So we just clowned them.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out because
if you look up King Sly T, you might want to get King Sly T Pastor Eric. It might come up
Mhm.
that way. I know it's on his channel. It was great. That was a great podcast. We had like 800 people on it. It was great.
Yeah, Pastor Eric Miller, he's insane. He's said a lot of different crazy things and has done a lot of crazy things. He was one guy that I was just like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
I'm avoiding him at all costs. But yeah,
I
King.
didn't have a beef with him. What it was he was shitting on detractors, and I was like, he
Mhm.
commented on my post,
Yeah, I remember him
and
saying
then
he was going to sue people.
or some shit. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
and I responded to his message, and I was like, dude, like, chill, like, relax. And then he started going off on me, saying, "Oh, the fake and duty and all this shit." Started going after me, and then I messaged him. I'm like, "Yo, what's the beef? Like, what's the issue? Why are you pissed off at me?" And he
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, you guys are fake. All this about the money." I was like, "All right, well, that's fine. If you have that opinion, it's all good. Whatever. I don't mind."
Mhm.
And then he kept doing it. Like I was like, dude, I'm getting bombarded by people asking me, what's this beef with you and Pastor Eric? And I'm like, I don't have any beef with him,
Mhm.
And then Snort Hogan made a video telling him to basically shut up.
Yep.
And then that just started it all. And then what ended up happening was I remember what it was. So he started insulting us, calling us femboys and all this stuff. Like calling it, yeah, like, oh, we want to, DSP, we're on his jock or whatever. And we were like, all right, well, we're gonna have to research this guy, see what's going on. Dude, oh my god, his socials were just foul. Like he was following a bunch of like, tranny people, donating to them. It was crazy. We found this TikTok, which was insane. We found his Facebook, and we would just do streams and videos of it. And he got pissed off, and then that's when he started doing like the death threats and all that stuff. And I
Mhm.
told Snort and Chill and King, I was like, you know what, I'm done. I don't like fucking with people like this. He's insane.
Yeah.
And then he sent me death threats to my email, and I was just like, okay, this guy's insane. So I told everybody, I was like, all right, I'm kind of done. I'll laugh or whatever, but I'm kind of just done. I'm out of it. And then we did that 666 podcast where we got a sub count to 666. And that was like the last of it. So me and him have been cool since there. I helped him with his memberships and
Mhm.
and just monetizing his channel and stuff like that. So we got really cool, and we're still cool. I don't get to see his streams too much just because I'm trying to
Mhm.
make a concerted effort to spend my afternoons with my kids
Yeah,
and my
yeah.
wife. You know what I mean? So I don't watch too much stuff in the afternoon. So when he streams, I'm usually not available. So,
Yeah.
but he's my dude. I love King Sai. He's a good dude.
Yeah, I love King Sly. I actually have a list of people that I want to like interview. He's one of them.
Let me
Um,
know. I can send him a message. I
oh,
can I could try to hook it up.
prayer prayer hands in the chat. Prayer hands in the chat, pimp.
He's a good dude. King Sly will collab with anybody. Like that's
John
the one thing.
DeMarco.
It just has to, you just have to figure out a time schedule. But
Yeah, exactly.
he's really good with interviewing and stuff like that. Yep.
Mhm. So I got a few more questions here.
Yep.
So first, you at one point you were advertising a podcast with Chill Murray, Wings 007, and King Sly.
Yes.
Whatever happened to that? I know you never got it really off the ground. Was it just a scheduling thing? Was it just you just decide against it, or?
The wings trolls, they start. So so initially I was holding off on it. All right, so I think I talked about this, but maybe this, I guess this will be a public announcement. So initially, yes, we were going to do a podcast. We were going to call it the Urban Style, or the Urban Style Podcast. It
Mhm.
was going to be me, King 007, and Chill Mary. Me and 007 did a podcast before. I've known 007 for years, so I've
Mhm.
worked with him. I know a lot of people dislike him. Me and him are cool. It's all good. So we were going to do a podcast, but then 007 and the whole Wings community, the whole troll. I'm not going to say who specifically,
Yep.
but they found out about it because we did a podcast where we talked about it. And we're like, yep, we're going to be kicking off in a few weeks, just kind of hyping it up.
Yep.
I got bombarded because they knew that I was leading it. Like it was my idea and all that. So I started getting bombarded by a whole bunch of wing, like, the trolls, the hardcore trolls, whatever, saying that if I do this, that they're going to report my channel, they're going to get my channel demonetized. It was basic threats. Like I got about like 20 of them because they didn't want me to work with 00. And they were like, you do the podcast, but you can't do it with 00. And I was just like, why the fuck, like, what's the beef with Double O? And there
Mhm.
was a time there with there was certain communities fighting each other and all that. The Wings community is just
Yep.
insane. So I
Mhm.
got kind of caught in the crossfire. So they were threatening my channel. And if you don't remember, I was dealing with the whole superhound nonsense. Every year I was getting my channel taken
Yeah,
down
he
for a
was
month
yeah, yep,
because he was
because he
channel
was gonna
striking
have
me.
a
Yeah.
yeah, channel, yep.
So the one person in question that was threatening me, I knew who he was. I knew he didn't know I knew who he was, but I know who he was. Just because I was in those Discord boards.
Mhm.
So I knew exactly who he was. And I know that he used to fuck with Wings that way.
Yep.
So I told him, I was like, look, man, I'm not gonna get my primary channel fucked with. So I said, let's put it on the shelf for now. We'll try to bring it back. And then, some of it too was like when we waited a little bit, then we had a little bit of issue where like I don't I don't want to put this on like anybody or whatever, but oh fuck it, I'll just say, if I'm talking. So I mean, I did tell you earlier that me and Chill Mary kind of had a bit of a
Yep.
falling out and stuff like that. It wasn't
Yeah, yeah.
anything deep, but we just had differences or whatever. And for my part, it was just like, all right, it's all good or whatever. But he started getting a bit erratic, with his streams and just the drinking and all kind of the stuff. And I was just like, do I really want to kind of do content with someone that's kind of, and again, I don't tell people what to do. You do whatever you want to do. You're a grown adult. I'm not your dad. You do whatever the fuck you want to do. But then then we started doing some other stuff with King Sly. We started collabing on his channel and doing stuff,
Mhm.
and then the whole Raven thing. Remember when Raven Dolphins bullshit
Yep.
happened? And then it was just like trying to get commitments and all that stuff, and I was just like, I'm not going to deal with that shit, like, you know what I mean, like, and then what ended up happening too was King Sly's podcast started not getting insane. My podcast, I went from streaming to like 200 people to like 800 people a stream, and I was just like, you know what, I'd rather focus on my podcast and just do
Mhm.
my podcast solo. And that's what I decided to do. So I told him, I was like, look, I'm not gonna, I was like, you guys can do it if you want. Here's the logo, here's the channel. I was like, I'll transfer it to whoever's name. You guys can do it if you want. And they just decided not to do it. So
Yeah. Okay.
that's the story with the Urban Style
The
podcast.
urban style, yeah, the
It
urban
was a
style
great idea. We
yeah,
we
I
had
think
a
it
lot
would've
of
been awesome.
ideas. Yeah, we had a lot of ideas, but ultimately it was like herding cats, you know what I mean? And then dealing with other people outside, fucking with
Yeah.
your channel and all that. I didn't want it. And I got straight out threats that they were just going to slam my channel with they were going to report my videos, they were going to slam my channel with copyright stuff, and I'm like, and at that time I was probably the biggest. So
Mhm.
that's why they wanted to fuck with me, and I was just like, oh, all right. So like I blocked them. I didn't respond, but then I didn't do the podcast, so they didn't bother. So
Mhm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then there couple more questions here.
mhm.
So this one, when pertaining to wings, you talked about like the wings, vortex and stuff like that, and how they just constantly they just bombard everyone. So I know that's why you stepped away from it, but is that also why you kind of just strictly stayed focused on Phil, or is it just more so just Wings is just that boring now? Because I mean, Wings does have some stuff that does arise sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's not as good as it used to be.
No, I didn't leave the Wings. A lot of people think I left the Wings vortex because I got bullied. No, nobody bullied me. No, 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 no. I left the Wings community because I started doing more DSP stuff, and Wings was getting very boring, and he was medicated, and he was barely streaming. Remember, there was a period where every time he streamed, his channel was getting taken down, so he couldn't
Yeah,
even stream.
and then he had to go to Facebook.
Yes, exactly. So I was just like, okay, well, there's no content there. So I started doing DSP, and at that time, that's where he got demonetized. I started doing more content on Phil because I had another channel called Call of Duty before
Yep.
Duty streams, um, and then I just started focusing more on Phil. And then occasionally I would do Wings, and then Lumix blew up, and I was just like, all right, well, Lumix has this. Me and Lumix were kind of doing the same thing. And I was just like, and me and Lumix got really cool. And I was just like, all right, well, I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like I'm eating good with Phil. I'll let other, you know what I mean? Like I try not to dude, people have told me all the time, why don't I restream Phil like Raw Phil? And I was just
Yep.
like, well, no, Raw Phil got that. You know what I mean? That's his money. You know, he gets 800-900 people there. He makes a nice decent chunk of change on membership. If I start streaming him, I may not get his numbers, but I might, yank away a few hundred here. And it's just like, no, why do I don't need to be like, I don't need to be greedy. Like, I don't need to, and not everything has to come from me. I make enough content. I post like 5 or 6 videos. I stream 3 times a week. That's plenty of me. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that. It's just, so that was kind of why I kind of stepped away from the wings thing. If it's something big, I'll clip wings and do content of him. But if it's just day-to-day shit like him being shitty at games, I don't bother.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm gonna dive into another vortex here. Cyrax.
Sure. Oh my god, now that's insane, brother. I tried delving into that, but the friction between the communities, it's insane. Like it's just in fucking insane. And I always feel, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I always feel like that if I'm in one of their communities, I get bombarded by people saying, "Why are you watching that person? He's at," you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm just watching content. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I'll give you one example. I was watching Steve of Machete Squad.
Yeah.
And I was watching him because he would come on when I had free time. And he was talking about Cyrax or whatever. And I thought it was good or whatever. It was all good. Like it was fine or whatever. Bro, I got messaged by people in like that were affiliated with like William Glorio, N-word Boy.
Yes.
And they were like, "Why are you watching him?" And I'm like, "What are you?" No, they were saying, "Why are you promoting him?" I was like, "What do you mean promoting him? I'm not promoting him." I was like, "I'm watching content." And they were like, "No, he's a this, he's a gay, just all this other stuff." And I'm like, "All right, I know you don't get along with him, but whatever." Like, and then it was a lot of that. And I'm like, dude, I'm not making content. So it's not like I'm trying, you know what I mean? Like I'm a watcher. I'm observing. Thankfully, like most, like William Glory Ho, N-word Boy, like I've talked with them and stuff like that. Like just heck, and they're all good. They know I'm a DSP detractor, and I just come to watch, and that's it. I'm not looking to make any hay or space in the Cyrax verse. That's too insane. Like Cyrax is just insane. That's a horror cow. I like to watch and just laugh. That's the extent of it.
We cover him a little bit on here, but you are 100% right. He is a horror cow. There is so much terrible stuff, and we actually did an interview with Cassandra, who was pretending to be his girlfriend. So we did that, and then we actually brought her on, and we've introduced her to DSP. We did the we did the secret limited WWE champion spending, and we watched the video and reacted to it. We didn't do the whole video, but we did about 40 to 50 minutes of it. So we introduced it to her and then asked her at the end, like, what do you think? And she's like, oh, he definitely did it. He lied on the court documents and stuff like that. We're like, yep. We're all in the same thought process here. But before we go ahead and wrap it up, is there anything that you want to go ahead and promote? Is there anything that you have, that you want to, just tell anyone about, like any?
I mean, yeah, I'm trying, and I say this a lot. Every year, I come out with new plans, and they just fall down the waistline. I've talked about a Discord forever, but I'm gun shy about Discord, especially everything.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Yeah,
it's just a disaster, and I don't have the time to moderate and all that stuff. The only thing is, I'm trying to be more consistent with the meaningful podcasts, stream like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I got to get my kick up. So the kick will be up in April. I've been having issues for like 3 months where there's a problem with the streaming key and Streamlabs. I don't know what it is. It's a pain in the ass. I've had actually kick admin try to figure it out. They don't know what it is. So what I'm probably going to be doing is switching from Streamlabs to probably Stream Elements or OBS. So just being more consistent with my streams, at least 3 times a week. I have some stuff that I want to plan and do. But it's just like, life keeps kicking me in the nuts with different things here and there. Other than that, I'm going to be pumping out consistent content till about June. And then when June comes around, I typically try to take about a month. My family do a lot of traveling. Last year we went to Spain for about a month and a half. This
Mhm.
year I'm probably going to be going to Japan with my youngest. So
Ooh, okay.
yeah, her graduation. She's going to be graduating from school this year. So we're probably going to take a trip to Japan. If not now, we'll probably go in September. September is nicer, but I don't know.
Mhm.
So other than that, man, yeah, and I'm just here making content, doing the usual thing, nothing new. And yeah, I mean, it was fun talking with you, brother. And if you want to do this again, I'm open to it. I enjoy
Yeah,
it. Maybe we can do a live if we can, kind of fit it out. Maybe we could do a live and
yeah,
I
absolutely.
can meet your co-host and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out, but yeah, definitely would love to do this again. Yeah, thank you to everyone for going ahead and watching. Be sure to hit like,
Big ups.
subscribe, hit that bell icon to get
Yes.
notifications, leave a comment down below, and then you know what? Leave a question down below, and then when we do the next interview, I can go ahead and add them to my script here for next time. But again, thank you, Duty, again for doing this, and until next time, everyone, peace out.